Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday. What's up? What's up, John? Okay. Thank you for joining us for our What's Up Wednesday virtual training session. Today, we are going to focus on Pear Deck.
I just got hit by about 4 different fruit all at once.
And how it can accelerate learning.
You're going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
That's right. We're going to learn today. I'm Ann Witherspoon, and we've got Elena Ade on the other screen.
Hello.
And we have John Allen.
Hello. 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 Hello.
On the soundboard to help keep things lively, as you'll be able to see if you haven't figured that out already. And we're your iTechS for Midlothian ISD. Before we get started, we have a few housekeeping things that we need to share. Please make sure that you go to the view at the top right and make sure you click on speaker under the view menu. Also, please make sure that you are not allergic to pears, because we've got a lot of very good information to share with you today.
I've been waiting for this.
You know, it's late in the afternoon. Here's a quick look at the objectives that we'll be covering in today's session. Okay, we're going to start with getting started. I'm going to just go over the basics of the Pear Deck interface, and then we will look at some features that Pear Deck has, and we're going to include some new features that have been launched this year that if you haven't used Pear Deck this year, you may not know about. Then we're going to look at the impact on learning that Pear Deck can provide for you in the classroom, and we'll end with a pro tip for the day, and then we'll discuss our implementation task if you choose to take on that mission. So let's get started. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Now, Pear Deck, I'm going to go on ahead and share my screen with you all. Pear Deck is interesting. It's one of those different kind of apps that actually requires a Google Slides add-on that you can get right here by clicking on add-ons in the top menu of your Google Slide Deck, and you would click on add-ons, go to get add-ons, and then it's usually going to populate in the top, the top 1 or 2 rows, and you just click on it, and then you would click install, and you would be ready to go. But to make animations and other cool things work within the slide, you also want to go to the Chrome Web Store and get the Chrome extension Pear Deck Power Up. And once you do that, what I love about the Pear Deck Power Up is that it puts a Pear Deck launch. Let me come right over here and show you where right here you can click on that Pear Deck launch button right there, and it will bring up this sidebar, which is what you're going to need to be able to create. So let's go on ahead and talk now about the different ways. There's 2 different ways that you can create a slide deck or a Pear Deck slide deck. You can do it directly in Google Slides. If you already have a slide deck for a lesson prepared and you want to just add some interactive features to it, then you would just click on the Pear Deck menu to bring up this sidebar. And here in the sidebar, you can literally just pop in a question by just adding a slide. I'll just add a blank slide, and I'm going to add a multiple choice, or maybe I'll add a draw. Since draw is one of the premium features that we have. And then you would just post your question right up here. Just ask your question or task, or post the task. And then once you launch this, your students would have the ability to either draw, or there is the text feature as well, or maybe they might want to draw and write some text. So it's really a great way to just take a slide deck you already have and just make it interactive by adding a quick question. Another thing that the Pear Deck sidebar menu has is a template library, and you would just click over here. They've even got templates for the beginning of the lesson. They could be used as bell ringers or do nows. And then they have templates for during the lesson that you may want to interject as you're moving along. And then also at the end of the lesson. They also have some for that really focus on critical thinking, social emotional learning. I love that they even have a section dedicated just to the littles. And then there's also content area templates as well. Once you get your questions like you want them, I also do want to mention down here that there's featured content down here as well. And just a shout out to teachers who teach financial literacy. There's some great EverFi lessons down here. You might want to check that out, or maybe even some CTE teachers that there may be some content in this EverFi area. So once you've got this all like you want it, you're just going to start the lesson, and then you would choose student-paced activity, which means that you're not directing the lesson, and it would be great for station work, and the students would work on their own, and you would be able to collect that data from what they accomplished. Or like what you would probably normally use, instructor pace. That's where you lead the journey and all of the students are on the same slide at the same time. And then you would just start your lesson. Now you have this ability to do this all directly right within Google Slides, but you also can go to peardeck.com, which is Pear Deck's home, and you can start a slide from there, which is actually where I started this slide. But you can start a slide. They also have some cool pop-up activities, just some quick prompts, maybe for bell ringers or exit tickets. And then I know we have a lot of teachers that love Flashcard Factory, and this is where you would access to Flashcard Factory to create an activity using Flashcard Factory. They also have here some other resources. You can grab slide decks directly from Drive here, and then there's other areas to explore. Also, under the sessions tab is where you would find your sessions and be able to grab the data from your Pear Deck sessions. So peardeck.com is another way that you can manipulate and use Pear Deck within Google Slides. So After you start that lesson and you select your mode, whether it be student-paced or teacher-led, then you'll share the code. The students simply go to join.com and they enter in their code. So now that we've taken a quick look at Pear Deck, I want to just show you what it would look like. Your students, we would go through some slides and then it would come up to a slide that's interactive where you would really want your students to do something or respond. And so this particular slide is really just a slide to kind of take a temperature of, you've introduced some information. You need to know, where is everybody? Are you with me? Do you understand? And then they would just identify, I understand, keep going, I'm a little confused, stop, I need help. And these are great slides to interject within the lesson so you don't get too far down the road and realize nobody understands what you're even talking about. The thing that I also love about Pear Deck, it's always displaying this code. And so if they get bounced out, they always can get right back in. So this would be like one that they would answer. And once they start responding, then you would click show responses and, oh, okay, so see, somebody needs some help there. And so I would know to stop and clarify, find out, what clarification needs to be addressed. So that's kind of the basics of Pear Deck. I'm going to throw it over to Elena now, and Elena is going to talk about some of Pear Deck's features. Elena?
So, as you know, our district has purchased Pear Deck, and with that purchase comes some premium features. And with those premium features, we have unlimited PDF and Google Slide imports. You can now have up to 50 participants in a session, and also we have priority to the help desk. You as a teacher now have access to a session dashboard and can review previous sessions that you've done, as well as those student takeaways, which is great for analyzing whether or not your students are being engaged or their comprehension of a certain piece of a lesson or all your lesson material. It includes drawing and draggable question slides, much like the one that Anne was showing you earlier. That was an example of the draggable. And it also includes the ability to export those responses. So if it's something that you want to really kind of use as almost an assessment piece to gauge where your students are with a certain skill, this is a great thing to use as well. Another feature, which is some of you may already know about and have maybe already used, and I know Anne touched on it a little bit earlier, but was the flashcard factory. This is actually a team-oriented vocabulary game where students can create their own vocabulary flashcards. And at the end of the game, both the students and the teacher can then review those cards and select a final set together. And in doing so, this is going to help engage those students in that whole learning process. So from the creation all the way to the end product of evaluating and that kind of thing. And as an added bonus to the flashcard factory, you can now export the final set to GimKit. So for all of you guys who are GimKit users, it's something that you can take and import into GimKit as well for that extra practice. Woo-hoo! We've linked a video in the presentation to show how Flashcard Factory works and a little bit about it. So make sure that you click on the link in the presentation and you can take a look into Flashcard Factory if you haven't used it. Now, there are some new features that have been added with the premium access that we definitely wanted to highlight. And one of those is the ability to add audio to your lessons. Before you could add images and video, but now there's the ability for the audio, and it can easily be recorded live, or you could upload your video or your audio that you already have in just a few steps. And so they can easily be accessed by the students, whether they're in student paced or instructor mode. And then we've also linked a how-to within the presentation as well. And the other great new feature is teacher feedback. And I know this has been a focus in our district for several campuses. And so this is something that you may want to take advantage of. But this tool, the feedback tool, is actually in beta. So I want to say that, but it allows you to leave comments for students next to any type of a response that they have. So whether it's a drawing, a draggable, or a text, a number, multiple choice, it doesn't matter. You can leave a response via the dashboard. And so students instantly receive their own feedback on the student view. And you can also send feedback during any part of the lesson, and also whether or not it's in student or instructor paced mode. But that's definitely one of those premium features that we all will probably want to utilize. So with all of those things in mind, let's talk for just a moment about the impact that Pear Deck will have on learning. And I know we've talked a lot the last couple of What's Up Wednesdays about the ISTE standards for students and how it ties to that. And so again, I want to reiterate those, that according to those ISTE standards for students, we are, as teachers, to provide opportunities for our students to be empowered to use that technology to show their competency, to build those digital citizenship skills in order to recognize the rights, responsibilities, and those opportunities for them to be ethical in a digital world, to become a knowledge constructor, to curate and construct content to make meaning, and of course, to become a creative communicator to where that they can clearly express themselves in a variety of styles and formats. So we all know that students learn more when they are actively engaged, and Pear Deck can do all of those things that I mentioned above and so much more. In fact, Pear Deck is committed to designing tools that are guided by research and best practices for both teaching and learning. And so with these features that we talked about earlier, such as the teacher feedback, it makes it easy for you to connect with every single student in your classroom. And it is a great way to give students a voice in their learning as well. So that brings me to the pro tip of the day. So Anne?
Our pro tip today is really kind of related to a way to have an impact on learning, to use Pear Deck to impact learning, and that is to let students take the lead. Insert a blank slide at the end of your presentation, or even at any point or juncture within your presentation, your lesson, and have the students respond to a critical thinking question that would make them think about inferencing or connecting the learning to maybe prior knowledge, or maybe making a prediction or deciding an outcome. Looking for a way, by being a completely blank slide, looking for a way for the students to be able to express the information that they've taken in, and then the processing of that information, and giving them the choice as to how they want to display what they have learned. This is a great way to give them that opportunity to be that creative communicator, and really empower them to think about the pedagogy behind their learning, and getting them to be a part of the process of their learning, rather than just trying to open up their brain and just pour it in. And so giving them that opportunity.
Too cool.
So I want to share my screen again. And this is what one of those blank screens would look like. And so I selected the draw slide because it is probably the most versatile. Students can draw, they can add text, and getting them to really process the information that they've taken on here is a great way to utilize Pear Deck in a way that's really going to, like we said, elevate that learning in a very minimal way on your part, but can be so impactful for the students. Okay, so I'm going to throw it back to Elena to talk about our implementation task.
All right, so not sure about you guys, but our team firmly believes that to get the most out of our professional learning experiences, we need more than just that one and done. So to help implement what you have learned today, we would like to invite you to extend your learning and earn an extra hour of CPE credit by completing an implementation task where you use Pear Deck within your classroom. So think about that unit of study that you have coming up and how you could incorporate Pear Deck within that unit of study. And to help you out, here are some resources that you will definitely want to check out, especially the blog, which has innovative ways to implement Pear Deck, the Twitter chat, which is a way to connect and learn from other global educators regarding Pear Deck, and of course the Orchard, which has ready to use sample decks for a variety of content areas and of course grade levels. So hopefully those resources are something that will help you get your creative juices flowing and will prompt you to hopefully do this implementation task. But whether you decide to do the implementation task or not, either way, we thank you for joining us today. And we do want you to complete the form to receive credit, in which it is linked on the implementation task right here. And then it's also linked at the end of the slide. Now, if you are going to do the implementation task, just a little caveat, wait to fill out the form, because we do ask that you include a link to, it could be just a picture of your slide deck or a link to join your course or whatever the case may be, to show that you've implemented Pear Deck or how you've implemented Pear Deck. So you might wait to do the form until after you've done your implementation task. But if you don't want to do the implementation task, then go ahead and please complete the form to receive your credit for participating in our session today. So Anne, I'm going to turn it over to you for the question.
So does anyone have any questions at this point?
Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answer to.
That's the truth. If we don't have any questions, then I think that's it for today's What's Up Wednesday with your Midlothian ISD iTechS. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, John, for keeping it lively. And most of all, thank you to those of you who attended today. And we will see you at the next What's Up Wednesday.
Bye, bye, boys. Have fun storming the castle.